Hey everybody, Dr. Marty here. I am talking you through Chapter 2 notes. We're still in review from previous years. And this is Section 2.7, which looks at proportions. Okay? Let's start by defining a proportion. We talked about ratios and rates and unit rates before. Well, a proportion has to do with that. A proportion uses ratios, okay? So a proportion is an equation that states two ratios are equal. You can see that? So a proportion is an equation that states two ratios are equal. Okay? So remember a ratio, right, is a comparison between two numbers using division, like a ratio of A to B is A over B. So here we're going to set two ratios equal to each other. Okay? So here's an example. 5 over x, that's a ratio of 5 to x, and 12 over 60, ratio of 12 to 60. Well, we set them equal to each other. So 5 over x equals 12 over 60. Now, often we will see proportions where we need to solve for one part of one of the ratios. So that will be represented by a variable. Here we have 5 over x. We're going to solve for x. Now, there's a handy trick that we can use to do that. It's called cross multiplication. Okay? Essentially, if we were to work this whole equation out to solve, I could show you that, and I will actually in a second. But basically the way cross multiplication is going to work is I'm going to multiply the top of one side to the bottom of the other, and I'm going to set it equal to, so 5 times 60. I'm going to set that equal to the bottom of that side times the top of the other, so 12 times x. Okay, so I get 5 times 60, which is 300, equals 12x. I can solve for x, divide by 12, and I get x equals 25. Now, what did I mean by I could show you how this would work? If I had the equation 5 over x equals 12 over 60, and I wanted to solve for x, okay, I could start by clearing one side. So I can multiply by x on this side. If I'm going to do that, I got to multiply by x on this side. So these x's cancel. I get 5 equals 12 times x over 60. Then multiply by 60 on this side, multiply by 60 on this side. Guess what we're left with? I'm just going to draw an arrow. Over here we've got 60 times 5, and that equals 12 times x. Well, that's what we got here. So cross multiplying, top one side times the denominator of the other, denominator one side times the numerator of the other, just saves us going through that whole step. Okay, so solve that, we get x equals 25. Let's look over here, because now we're going to use some cross multiplication, but it's a little bit trickier. Here we have x minus 8 over 5 equals x plus 3 over 4. Well, we're going to do the same thing. I'm going to multiply the top of one side times the bottom of the other. So I'm going to have 4 times x minus 8 equals 5 times x plus 3. All right, now we just got to solve. Well, we're going to distribute, right? 4 times x is 4x. 4 times negative 8 is minus 32 equals 5 times x, 5x, 5 times positive 3 plus 15. Good. Now we can just go ahead and solve. I see that I have 4x here and 5x here, so I'm going to clear the x on this side, subtract 4x from both sides. I get negative 32 equals x plus 15. Now I can just subtract 15 over here and over here, because I got to do it to both sides. Get x equals negative 47. Cool. So that is using cross multiplication to solve proportions. Well, these are very convenient for word problems. I know you don't like word problems, but super practical application of what we're learning is to apply this to the real world, and that's all a word problem is. So here we have an example. It says a small music player with 2 gigabytes of memory can hold 500 songs. A similar yet larger music player has 80 gigabytes of memory. How many songs can it hold? I'm going to use colors here. I'm going to use some colors here to try to make this a little easier. So we know that a small music player has 2 gigabytes of memory and can hold 5,000 songs, right? So 2 gigabytes to, sorry, not 5,000, 500. 500 songs, my apologies. So we know that the ratio for this small music player is 2 gigabytes to 500 songs. Then a similar yet larger music player has 80 gigabytes of memory, but we don't know how many songs. It says how many songs, right? Right? So this is going to be a proportion, so it's equal to, we have gigabytes on the top, so we're going to say 80 gigabytes for this larger one, but we don't know how many songs. So for the how many, we're going to put in a x. Okay? Guess what? Now we just have to solve. We can use cross multiplication. Okay? And I'm just going to go to one color to make this a little bit easier. Right? So I've got 2 gigabytes times x. Okay? So 2x. And I've got 500 times 80 equals 500 times 80. Well, that gives us 2x equals 40,000 divided by 2. And x equals 20,000 songs. That's a lot of songs. You know, it's kind of nice to be able to hold more than that. My first MP3 player held about 40 songs, and it was really annoying compared to what you can do today. So that's proportions. Proportions, just setting two ratios equal to each other. You can solve them using cross multiplication. That is it for today.